made a promise that I am going to have this conversation about radio. Yeah, I'm gonna need wine for this one, guys. I'm definitely going to need wine for this. Wait, I think I need to put a disclaimer first. At this point, at this present moment in my life, I am not working for any radio station. I am not directly linked to any radio station. So I need to get that out of the way to say the views that I will be expressing here are completely and truly my own, and this is how I Hello, hi everyone. I hope you guys are doing good. I have been going through a roller coaster of a lot of things, but I'm slowly getting better, and I can feel myself slowly getting back to being myself again. And that really pleases me because I have, for the past few months, I really have been, down and in a very depressive state for a lot of reasons. I won't really get into them, but thank you for coming back here. Yeah, I've got a lot of opinions about what happens in the industries. And today I decided, let me talk about radio. I think for the first time in a while, we have seen like some really crazy radio moves, especially in the commercial radio space, which, is very tough to navigate in this day and age, considering the fact that the rise of sort of digital media has affected commercial radio so much more than it has affected all the other forms of radio. But we'll get into that. I think before I actually get into the conversation, I need a drink. Anyway, so I asked on Twitter, I did say that I'm gonna do this video, I'm gonna have this conversation, and I asked what are some of the radio stations that interest people a lot. And wow, I actually didn't think that my following was that vast, because I had so many people who were mentioning some of the radio stations that I haven't even personally listened to in such a long time. So I think perhaps we can start in the public radio space. One of the moves that that I really loved was seeing Selby go back to drive time, afternoon drive on Ukhozi FM. Listened to the show a couple of times and I really love it. So I think congratulations to Selby This is Selby for making it back to afternoon drive on the biggest radio station in the country. That is quite massive. Mungana Lonene has made some really interesting changes as well. They have taken back Kentani Nyango to the 9 to 12 mid-morning slot, which I think she's perfect for, and she's so powerful that I enjoy her impact so much when she's anchoring a show alone, as opposed to when she is co-hosting, which I think she's been doing in the past 2 years or 3. But I also like the fact that she showed up when she was moved from a show that she had been doing for so many years and put on, breakfast and on drive to co-host. She really showed up and she never even lost her identity. So still on Mungana, they've brought back Ike Ngobeni. He's one of the guys that I used to listen to when he was still on Capricorn FM a while back. Great guy, great broadcaster, very articulate, very well spoken, very funny, very witty as well. So he is now taking on the afternoon drive show on Mungana Lonene alongside Lindiva. And Lindiva was on 9 to 12, I think, for the past 2 or 3 years. And I also started listening to her when she was on Capricorn FM and she was doing a weekend show, and she had such a big personality, which she still has, like a massive personality. And I can't wait to actually hear the magic that they create on air. So that's another show for me that I feel like I listen to. I think that's all I'm willing to talk about when it comes to Venek Radio. That really is all on my side. If there's any changes that have really caught your attention, please do share with me in the comment sections and let me know which were some of your favorite moves. What are you unhappy with? And I haven't personally been able to listen to these radio stations in recent times. So I think I will do a follow-up video, because I've given myself a task to actually listen to Motsweding, to listen to Lisedi, to listen to Umhlobo Nene, to also listen to Legwala Gwala, Parapara, and Torela. I've listened to Parapara. My thoughts are very controversial, so I'm gonna have to do this some other time. So now, when we go into the commercial radio space, a lot of people mentioned, no, talk to us about 5FM, talk to us about Metro, and about 947. But before I get into the lineup and stuff, I just want to say that for commercial radio stations, it's really a tough and difficult time to navigate now for radio stations, considering that the growth and the rise of digital media really truly affects mostly commercial radio stations, because the audience that are on social media are the same audience that usually would consume those radio stations. And just the landscape of our country, a lot of people that have access to social media are almost equal to the number of people that consume commercial radio in South Africa, which means that commercial radio is highly affected on a bigger perspective, right? For example, you have clients that previously would spend all their money on commercial radio because for them it spoke to the target audience that they were going for, were usually on regional commercial radio, and just national commercial radio as well. So now they've got access to digital platforms, and the rise of digital media, what it does for radio is that generally advertising on radio is either a 30-second recorded commercial, or it is a live read, which you can do in about 30 to 45 seconds, which is very limited for clients that now have access to those millions of audiences on social media, right? As a strategist, I've sat in meetings with clients and radio stations where clients are saying, why should we be spending this much money on a 30-second commercial, that's going to play once, and once it's gone, when I could partner with a social media personality, or I could partner with one of your presenters who can then have this information on their social media platforms, and that information will probably live on that platform for a longer period. People can scroll back and see the information. People can still go back and engage with the content. Whereas on radio, when it's just a 30-second commercial, somebody can't even call in and have a conversation about my product. But on social media, I know that people are going to have a conversation about my product. Whether the feedback is good or it's bad, I do get immediate feedback the moment my content is out there on social media. It's a very tricky situation. So when radio stations get to a point where they opt to employ people with a massive following on social media, it's because they're also in a tricky situation. With the personalities that they have on air, they're able to attract more advertising, right? They're able to attract more brands. They're able to attract partnerships. They're able to do events and have brands come in and sponsor the events, because certain personalities will be part of that specific event, and they will be able to talk about it on their social media pages, and they will reach the target audience that is no longer listening to radio for whatever reason. So commercial radio, the reason why it's called commercial radio is because the sole purpose of its broadcasting is for commercial purposes. It's for commercial value, right? That's the core of, the operations of that type of a radio station. So it becomes very, very tricky for management to sit and say, okay, let's bring a new talent that doesn't have numbers, and let's lose on revenue, because how many brands are going to come on board and say, okay, we would like to give you 2 million rand, but we want out of that 2 million rand that you give 800k to this personality so that they can be the face of their campaign. We can give them give them our product as well, for them to talk about the product on and off air. So they've got the leverage of actually using both on air and online platforms. The trickiest thing is that a lot of personalities have got an even bigger following than the stations that they work for. So you can't exactly as a station say, no, give us the money, we'll put it on our social media pages. You can, but what is your reach compared to if we partner with 4 of your personalities? So it's just some of the conversations that happen behind the scenes that a lot of listeners don't get to have access to. And I know that a lot of people are not very happy with radio stations hiring people with a huge following. For me, it's not necessarily a big problem. It's a big problem if that personality is not a good broadcaster. But if that personality is a good broadcaster, then for me it's a win-win situation, to be quite honest, especially for specific radio stations. So now, getting into the new lineups that we have witnessed. Let's start with 947. In terms of regional commercial radio stations, they really one of the few that really shook the industry like this year. I think 947 has, always been the station that makes decisions. Like they've really always been the station that makes decisions. And they will do that with a representation of their talent. They will do that with a representation of some of their content, the majority of their content, but they don't exactly completely alienate, because I think my English is failing me. I need to keep drinking because if I don't, I'm gonna lose my mind. I have a cramp. Oh my god. Jesus did wonders, turning water into wine. It was one of his best creations. Anyway, back to the conversation. So, 947 has always really done their own thing. They've never really been the type of radio station that you would look at and think they're competing with a specific other radio station, or they are copying the mechanics of another radio station. They've really always set their own standards. They've always made sure that they've got their own solid foundation, and I commend them for that, because they've created a space for themselves where they can do anything, and they know that they've got the capacity to make it work. They understand their audience, they know who they are speaking to, who they are broadcasting to, which is very important, because once you understand your core target audience, it's a lot more easier for you as a broadcaster to carve your content around your listener, because you know exactly who you're speaking to. That for 947 is really, really dope. Their lineup, on the other hand, kudos, man. Like, we have to give it to 947. In terms of lineup, we have to give it to 947. They are the first commercial radio station in the country, okay, I stand to be corrected, to have majority female-led primetime radio shows. And this is in an industry that is male-dominated, that has been known as the boys' club, that has men at the forefront of making decisions, that has had men at the forefront of talent, that have had men at the forefront of shows. And now you've got Anel and the club in the morning. They are a brilliant, brilliant team. And I think one thing I love about the 947 talent is that you don't necessarily get that sense of show yam, yes, dim host, you guys must know your place. No. They have such an amazing way of working together. I mean, if you listen to Anel and the club, you'll know what I'm talking about. Tembi Mkhototo has got his own personality that stands out, and he's allowed, for that to happen. The rest of the team as well. I mean, Cindy, you get to know all of them, their personalities, and you can distinguish when it comes to content that this is Mang Mang's content in. Not everybody's just there to support Anele as the host. No, Anele has her own identity, and as a collective, they've got their own identity as a show. That is a very hard thing to achieve on radio, and I must give it to them. Andy Maqondwana is now gone. It's what's his name, CZ James. on 9 to 12. I haven't listened to Msizi in a while. The last time I listened to him, I think he was with Tando. So I'm going to give him an ear. And in part 2, I'll probably, talk a little bit about how I feel about him. And MVP is just, on a league of her own. She does her own thing. Her personality is outstanding. It's almost like you can forget about her, but she's unforgettable. I don't even know if that makes sense. We've got Tando on Drive now. I mean, there has been a lot of calls for Tando to make her way back on radio. Tando is one of the most talented people in this country, whether it's acting, whether she's presenting. She really is extremely talented. And I think her pairing with Alex Cage is brilliant. Brilliant. Tolly B is back on 947, which I think is quite a perfect fit. His broadcasting is very eloquent, it's very distinguished, and he really fits in at 947. It's like a perfect fit. What else? Please, guys, remind me in the comment section if I forget something, if anything that you might want to pinpoint, that you might want to bring up on these radio stations that we're talking about. Please do let me know, and we can do a part 2. Right, let's look at what YFM has got. Kuzo on Drive riding solo, which is quite a big move for female broadcasters, because in most stations they don't really trust a female broadcaster to run such a big show solo on their own. I haven't listened to the show. I recorded this on the Monday that the show is supposed to start, so I've not listened to the show. I will listen to the show though, and I'll give feedback as well. Tepi is back on YFM. She's doing 9 to 12 with DJ Sapta, and they also have separate shows on Saturday. DJ Sapta still has the plug on Saturday, and Tepi has got a new show on Saturday afternoon as well. I can't wait to hear that duo. I can't wait to hear what they bring to the table. And what else? DJ Sabi has left YFM after 10 years, and actually also left YFM after I think 7 or 8 years. Sebi has now moved into Metro FM. He's doing the top 40 countdown on Saturday, which I think is a brilliant move on his side. National radio, honestly speaking, I saw a number of people saying, how can you move from like doing Monday to Friday to doing just Saturday? Guys, the impact of national radio is not comparable to the impact of commercial regional radio. National radio, especially a station like Metro FM, they're still the biggest commercial radio station in the country, which means the opportunities are vast, right? The gigs are going to multiply. You've got opportunities to do a lot more. So that's another thing that we really need to keep in mind when people make such moves, to say it's not just about being on primetime radio Monday to Friday on a drive time show. Growth sometimes does not look like how we expect it to look. For Sabi, getting Metro is big. It is massive. His brand is about to shoot through the roofs, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. Also, I feel like it's just a matter of time till he makes his way to a 12 to 3 on Metro, or a drive time on Metro. But starting on Saturday gives him such a great platform to cement himself in the station and, really just climb up the ranks. But in terms of brand, Metro is really unmatched. If you want to build your brand beyond just the borders of a specific province, and Sabi is gonna do that. TV shows are probably also going to come flocking in, so that's another thing that we really need to keep in mind. What else happened at Y? Like, a number of people left, a number of DJs left the station. It was about time also, for some people. I'm not a very big fan of staying at one place for too long. I feel like at some point you need to get to a point where you're like, okay, what else can I do? What other station can I go there and kick ass? Much as most times it doesn't sit really well with us as listeners, but we need to understand that the people that are presenters are also human beings who have their own goals, who have certain things that they really want to do, and that's important for us to acknowledge. So yeah, I think that's where I'm gonna stop with YFM. Let's go to 5, right? Remember how somewhere in this video I was talking about the commercial aspect of commercial radio, which commercial is matibitibi, right? Commercial is revenue. Commercial is money. Their target audience is, should I say is, or has always been perceived to be Caucasian people, and it's also African people who grew up in urban environments, who grew up in the burbs, in simple terms, in the burbs, and they have got buying power, and brands really like them. So therefore, brands are more likely to go spend money on 5FM because of who they broadcast to, than to go spend money on Metro FM because of who they broadcast to. So that's the trickiest part. So therefore, brands would rather spend money there because they know that when those people hear, oh sorry, let me not say those people, because next thing, yeah, trend alona. Yo, and I give it a hot trend, I give it a hot trend, please. Every single radio station has got a mandate of who they are broadcasting to. Otherwise, we wouldn't need to have so many radio stations in one country under one umbrella of the SABC or other media houses that have got 1, 2, or 3, 4 other radio stations under their umbrella. We wouldn't need to have so many radio stations if there were not different mandates in terms of who their target audience are, who they are broadcasting to, and how they distinguish the content between themselves. So if you listen to Metro and you listen to 5, the content is completely different. Completely different. So it also speaks to the people that they are broadcasting to. Metro is broadcasting to a lot of us, and a lot of us are influenced by social media, which is why brands are taking majority of that budget and spending it on social media, because that's where we're spending a lot more of our time. So that's just another thing, guys. The radio industry is so vast and so confusing. One thing I really love about 5FM is that they will bring in new voices and they will put them on prime time. They don't care about how, you know, you're supposed to have been in the industry for 40 years for you to be on a breakfast show or on a drive time show. Nah, which is something that we're always crying for, but we want it to be done in our way, you know. And to be honest with you, I don't have a single problem with the 5FM format of radio and the format of their lineup as well. I think they can do whatever they want. I've never really connected with the type of content that they do. It doesn't depict my reality. I don't listen to some of their presenters and feel like this person represents a certain part of my life. So they have got those people that when they listen, they feel that. I have got a Metro, I've got a Y, I've got a Capricorn FM, an East Coast Radio, a Radio 2000 that I can listen to and feel a representation of myself. Should we completely eliminate representations of other people in this country when we have so many options? Do we want all the radio stations to broadcast the same type of content that must resonate with us? It's almost highly impossible. They've also brought in a lot of new talent this year, 5FM, which I commend them for. They've brought in, what's her name? Is it Buntla or Bunolo? I'm so sorry. She comes from Voice of Verts. She was doing the Countdown show on Voice of Verts, and she's now doing a weekend show in the evening. They've brought in Gebetsu Boya from UP, you know. She is an award-winning broadcaster. I mean, Zanele Potwana has really earned her strides, and she is now the midday queen of radio. And I'm very proud of her for what she's been able to do. She is brilliant. I'm really happy that the 5FM management have really taken her. I mean, she joined 5, I think, last year or 2 years ago from 947, and at 947 she was just doing the 947 crew on the streets and not necessarily doing a lot of stuff on air. But when she went to 5, they gave her a chance. And for me, that's really what growth in radio is supposed to be. That's a representation of somebody really climbing through the ranks and really earning their strides with every move and every broadcast that they make. So kudos to Zanele. Who else are we supposed to talk about? Oh, the mighty Metro. I had so many people. So I shared the new Metro FM lineup on Twitter, right? And I had so many people who are like, no, they must just drop the name Mighty from the station. They must just, and like, guys, I don't know. Hey, there are certain conversations you can't have sober. And actually, you know what? I'll have Metro last at the end of my class because I think that's what it needs. Let's look at Radio 2000. Radio 2000 has quite a solid lineup. Really, really love majority of the shows they have. I just have a tiny little weeny problem with the breakfast show. I think there's a change that can happen there that could really turn things around. I won't be specific about the change, but I really, really feel like there is a change that needs to be done on that breakfast show. Apart from that, the rest of the shows, I don't really see a problem. I mean, David Mashabela, brilliant. Ntombi, guys, Ntombi's show, better together. My goodness. You know how when the universe is shifting things around because they are preparing you for what you are really meant for? I think that is what was happening with Ntombi Piri. And they took Carol and put Carol on 9 to 12. She was brilliant. Then she left for East Coast Radio. And when she left, there was a change that happened mid last year, right? And David moved to 9 to 12, and they brought Ntombi back to daytime, which is 12 to 3. And she came back guns blazing. I absolutely love that show. Love that show. I love David on 9 to 12. Love Ntombi on 12 to 3. Love Glenzito and the Super Drive on 3 to 6. I think Glenn is such a selfless broadcaster. For someone who's been in the industry for so long, when you listen to the show, you don't feel like there's a steering, because that's the biggest problem on radio. And as somebody who's worked on radio myself, I know very well that we've got a steering syndrome that really ruins a lot of shows. Look at how Nati shines on that show. Look at how Lelo Mzaka shines on that show. It's such a pleasure to listen to. And then Iceman on his new show, he is so perfect. I know a lot of people want him back on Breakfast. I don't necessarily feel like he should be back on Breakfast. I just feel like there is a shift that needs to happen on Breakfast. And, you know, there is a voice that needs to be brought in that will really just balance things out and would change the dynamic of that show. But I don't necessarily feel like Ice should completely move from his show now to Breakfast. I guess we have to go to the Mighty Metro. I don't know, man. I don't know. I really want to work for Metro, but I feel like every single year I'm just like, okay, maybe not. You know, maybe it will never happen. It possibly would happen, but I'm just like, okay. First thing first, I really think Dineo deserves the drive time show on Metro. I think she has earned her stripes on radio. I think she's a brilliant broadcaster, way beyond brilliant broadcaster. She's so intelligent. She is fun. She is, and I feel like the 9 to 12 show, it's good, right? It's good, but it doesn't bring out the best of Dineo for me. I feel like Dineo needs an upbeat show that's going to, like, you know, juju things around, that's going to allow her to, like, bring in her crazy element, bring in her older sister element, bring in her, you know, we can vibe together type of element. So I really think that Dineo should be on drive. And on the 9 to 12, I don't think she needs to have a co-host. I don't think she needs to have a contributor. I think the conversation she would have here and there with the newsreader is quite enough. I don't think she needs some sort of balance. No, I actually think that contributor or a co-host should have been put on 12 to 3 with LKG. I love Lerato as a human being. I love Lerato as an individual. She's worked really, really hard. I'm not quite certain how I feel about her as a broadcaster. She's not a bad broadcaster at all, but I feel like she should be doing a show like the Weekend Breakfast. You know, this is in no way to say she doesn't deserve to be on prime time. She really does. I'm not going to say much about the breakfast show. I haven't listened in a while, but I feel like it's starting to be a bit repetitive and stagnant. I don't know if they need to bring in a new voice as a contributor, or they need to relook their content, but there's just something that's just like it's not. I think Marion deserves a primetime show. I know that she did a show with Adele, I think it was 9 to 12 a couple of years ago, but I think she could kill it on 9 to 12. I really think she could murder it on 9 to 12. Marion is such an amazing host. She is refined, she is mature, you know, like her understanding of the world and her thoughts are so diverse that I feel like she deserves daytime radio. And she's been at Metro for so long, man. Unless if it's her deciding to stay on that show, perhaps for her to be able to do a lot of other things that she does outside of the station. But if it's not her choice, I'm really disappointed. The afternoon drive show, love the guys, but Dineo should be on drive. That's what I'm sticking to. Dineo should be on drive. The new show on Metro, I actually listened to it, Lamise and Lulo. It's actually such a good show. It's such a good show. I loved that show. And I think her and Lulo, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's the friendship or if it's just them as broadcasters, but they gel. They gel and they click so well. And Oskilo's show has been cut. And I know that it had a rap battle, new talent type of a segment. I don't know if it's still kept because I didn't listen at the weekend, but I hope that they didn't completely eliminate that. I hope that they've taken it to maybe the hip-hop show, Speedstar. Guys, hi Gabine, but I don't know how I feel about Moji. Hey, let me stop it there before I start to hate her. But na Moji, I came guys. I'm sorry. I came frustran. I came feeling, man. I came feeling abuti ole. Like I came. Oh. Anyway, Pearl and Thomas leaving Metro. I don't know what the circumstances around that are, but I know that a lot of people have assumed that they were let go to make way for Lerato. I don't necessarily feel that that's true. I also feel like Thomas is at a point where he'll probably resurface very soon, maybe somewhere else in a management position. I think Pearl is also just prioritizing other things as well. I'm not sure. I'm not going to talk on whether they were fired or whether they left voluntarily. Yeah, the Metro FM lineup dribbles me every year. I'm just always left like, huh? Okay. But again, think of the commercial aspect that I spoke about when it comes to commercial radio, and keep it at the back of your head whenever you experience these different changes that occur on radio. So I feel like there are a lot of things that I left out. So please comment and let me know if there's something else that you want us to talk about. Also, in closing, I don't feel like there is enough representation of the LGBTQI community in radio, and I don't want people to do the community a favor and put people on air without an impact, but as just to add numbers. No, I want people to be given shows because they are brilliant. I want people to be given shows because their impact would change people's lives. I want people to be given shows not just as contributors, not just as come giggle once or twice on air, 1 or 2 days in a week. No, you know, members of the community to actually be considered as equally talented as everybody else, and to be given opportunities to host and run shows and bring in their own thoughts and bring in their own conversations and bring in their own, you know, understanding of the world and how it operates. And I really think as a radio industry, we're really slacking in that perspective. But the fact that people keep hiring members of their community as contributors, as you can come giggle once or twice a week, you know, it just really doesn't sit well with me. It really doesn't. But that's about all I have today, because I can go on and on and on and on and on about radio. I can go on and on and on and on. But I'm opting to just stop right there. So thank you for watching. I think I found my thing, guys. I think I might have finally found my thing. I am so happy. This felt so good. These really felt so good. I'll drink to that. Wow, man. This really feels good. So yeah, more radio conversations on this platform. Radio, fashion, travel, and a bit of food here and there. Thank you for watching. Love you tons. And I cannot thank you enough. Let me cheers to you guys. Cheers.